Hello and welcome to another episode of SoccerBeat. And I'm with a very good friend of mine, Raymond Hack. We come a very, very long way. A good friend. If I'm not mistaken, I've known Ray for almost 40 years now. Ray, isn't that right?
Yeah, a long time, TK. From the time you were a junior reporter.
Yeah, Ray, I've known Ray for so many years. But before we get on to the nitty-gritties of why I've invited Ray for this particular episode, please hit the subscribe and like button. It will help us reach the 100,000 mark. Ray, maybe I need to read this. You know, I think, Ray, you've been chairman of Wits University while they were still in the NPSL and the PSL, and you were chairman of the SAFA. Ooh. I think it could take me the whole day reading what Ray has done and what Ray basically means. He's chairman of the, let me just take my glasses off, director of the FIFA World Cup bid. You've been chairman of the Wits University, executive member of the National Professional Soccer League, a vice chairman of the National Professional Soccer League, chairperson of WADA, member of WADA Special Projects, chairperson of SAFA Anti-Doping Committee. I could go on. I could really go on, Ray. And you're also chairman of the Confederation of African Football's Disciplinary Committee. Ray, the reason why I've brought you here is that there is a case of Asanele Velebayi, a player who has just signed for Kaizer Chiefs, but he can't play for them. As laymen, can you break it down to us? Why has there been such a back and forth and Asanele can't play for Chiefs, Chiefs can't field him? Can you break it down for us, laymen?
Yeah, Thomas, firstly, thank you for having me on your show, and a great show, and I just hope everyone tunes in and it succeeds. With regard to the player, I think it's simple because the people don't read the rules of the PSL. The rules are very clear. The player wants to be declared a free agent on the basis that he has now gone from a team that was under the auspices of the PSL to a team that is now playing in the third tier, which is not under the auspices of the PSL, it's under the auspices of SAFA. Now, the rules are very clear. It's Rule 43 of the PSL rules. It says a player can apply to the Dispute Resolution Chamber, which is the DRC, to be declared a free agent, which is what he wants to do, on the following terms and conditions. There are 7 terms on which you can apply to be a free agent. The one is if the club is in breach of the contract of employment. The other is if the club has unlawfully terminated his contract. If the club has unfairly dismissed him. In the event of the club ceasing to be a member club, falling under the jurisdiction of the league, which is the clause that he wants. There's also if he was, the member club has been wound up, if the member club fails to issue a clearance if in the interest of fairness. So he can apply because he does qualify under 43.14. But there is a provisor, and the provisor says the player applying to be declared a free agent must do so in writing. So the onus is on the player, setting out fully the grounds upon which he seeks to be a free agent. He must serve a copy of that letter on the member club and on the league, and it must be accompanied by proof of his service to the member club. So he's got to show them, yeah, I delivered the letter to the club. Okay? If there's a fee, the league will then refer it straight to the DRC, and because he qualifies, the DRC will issue him with a clearance, and he can then play for the team of his choice. But the player has to do something, not the club, the player. So the onus is on the player because he is the person asking to be declared a free agent. And the club who he was with cannot say you can't be a free agent. If they have a dispute, then they have to go to the DRC to say, look, we have a dispute. The player owes us money. The player hasn't returned his equipment. We're not in the third tier, we're in the second tier. But as it stands at the moment, because the club is in the third tier, the player is entitled to ask the DRC for a clearance so he can play for a club of his choice. But he must take the initiative. He must write to the league. He must serve a copy on the club that he was there and then send it to the DRC, and they will then issue him with a clearance. They will do so immediately.
What confuses me, Ray, is that the DRC appears to have declared the player a free agent to an extent that Kaizer Chiefs have even allocated him shirt number 17, which used to be worn by George Lebese. But the player has gone back and lodged an appeal for arbitration in this matter. Does it maybe indicate that the player has not taken the stance that you have just mentioned now, or what is the situation?
Well, I don't know if the player has done what he's required to do in terms of the rules. The DRC will issue him with the clearance. So once the DRC issues him with that clearance, he must then go to the league, give it in with the registration from Kaizer Chiefs, and Chiefs will then be entitled to do it. I assume what you're referring to is that the club that he played for has lodged an appeal. Now, the club can lodge the appeal, but the arbitrator will look at the rules and say, these are the rules. Have the rules been complied with? Have they been followed? And if they have been followed, then they will dismiss the case. I don't know what the grounds of the appeal are. I haven't had privy to it. I haven't seen it. But obviously, it's something that they've got. But if the player has complied with those rules, Rule 43, and has done everything there, then the arbitrator cannot overrule it.
But Ray, in the interim, while the player's former club has lodged an appeal, the contract that he signed with Kaizer Chiefs cannot kick in just yet until the arbitrator has ruled on this matter.
Well, I don't know how it can't kick in. I would say it can kick in because of the fact that the DRC have issued a clearance. Okay, so they cannot dispute the clearance. If they are appealing, they can appeal against the decision of the DRC. They can't appeal against the player because the DRC is the one that issued the clearance. So it's between the appeal board, it's between the club concerned, Cape Town, and the DRC. Now, I don't know how they're taking the decision of the DRC to arbitration, but the player has been issued with a clearance. The league has accepted the clearance. The player is entitled to play until such time as it stops it. There's no provision that says because you've lodged an appeal, everything must come to a standstill.
In other words, Ray, if I understand you well, if Kaizer Chiefs had a fixture today and the coach feels that Asanele Velebayi forms part of the starting 11, they can actually field him as matters stand until after the arbitrator rules otherwise or whatever. Chiefs can use the player.
Yes, they can, because the league have issued a player's registration card, and they have accepted that the player is registered in terms of their rules. Now, they can't go against Kaizer Chiefs or Cape Town or against the player. All they can do is they can go against the DRC to say that the decision the DRC made is wrong. If the arbitrator says that decision is wrong, then there's a possibility that the league would then have to look at it and reverse it. They would then have to go to the league and bring an application against the league, because the league is the one that issued the registration card.
Ray, I also read somewhere that the club kind of feel that they deserve a development fee of about 8 million rands. Where does this kick in? Does this come in? Or what is the status of the player and the club at this moment?
No, the one has got nothing to do with the other. The one is a clearance. The other is asking for compensation. That's a separate issue. They would then have to bring an application to say, we believe we should get compensation. But that cannot hold up the registration of the player, because the amount to be determined for compensation is something totally out of the control of the league. The league's got nothing to do with it. The league says, I have a registration before me. The registration is in order. I'm issuing a registration card for the player. The club takes the registration card and is entitled to field it. If the opposing club, which is Cape Town, feel that they have a right to compensation, that's a different application that they need to bring, and to have that determined by either the DRC or by the compensation committee, whoever deals with it.
Ray, balance me here. In your view about this legal matter, which is confusing us laymen, what needs to happen? What's got to happen? Because I hear that you say Chiefs are entitled to use him, but Cape Town Spurs are adamant that they cannot. So what needs to happen going forward?
Well, Cape Town Spurs don't have a say in the matter. Okay, they can dispute what the DRC has done, but the league has issued a registration card based on the documentation which has been presented to them. The documentation is the player's information and a clearance. The clearance didn't come from Cape Town. The clearance came from the league's DRC, who said the player has qualified because of the fact that the team has gone into the third tier, and presumably the player complied with Article 43.2 by giving it notification, serving it on the club, giving the reasons, and the DRC did it. So any dispute that Cape Town have is a case between Cape Town and the DRC, not between Cape Town and Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs have registered him based on the information they were given. The league has accepted it, so Chiefs can play the player tomorrow.
There's another player from the same Cape Town Spurs that Kaizer Chiefs are also interested in, and a third player who has been signed by Amazulu. Does the same status apply to them as well? They are also free agents. They can sign any day, anytime for clubs that they want to join.
Okay, they can only, when you say they are free agents, if they have complied with the provisions of the PSL rules, which was Rule 43, 43.1 and 43.2, if they've complied with it and they are in possession of a clearance from the DRC, then they are a free agent. Until they get that clearance, they are not free agents in the legal sense. They are free agents in terms of their mind, because they think, I don't have a club and the club has gone to the third tier. But until they get a clearance, a physical clearance from the league, they only then will they become a free agent.
Does it mean they also have to write to the league and show cause why they should be declared free agents?
Yes. You can only be a free agent on the circumstances that I've read to you in terms of Rule 43. They still have to write to the league. There's no bypassing the league to say, well, the team's gone. I now want to join another team. They have to comply with that, because when they go to the league to be registered, they have to have a clearance. Now, it's a clearance from a club who grant them the clearance, or it's a clearance from the DRC who give them a registration to say you are a free agent. You cannot be registered with the league unless you have a clearance.
Ray, I think you've made it perfectly clear, and I'm sure Kaizer Chiefs supporters will be happy to hear that Chiefs can use Asanele Velebayi anytime if he has followed the rules to the letter.